And then you can take it from my page and then put it wherever. So we are live on the page. And we just have to get it a few other places and then we should be good to go. And then you can take it from my page and put it wherever.
Mary, do you see her in the weight room?
Hold on. Check right now. Yeah, there's 2 people in there.
Take a look and see who's gonna take it up from here. And in Queen's Gambit, we have Chess is the only competitor.
Dr. Grant and Dr. Hawthorne.
Let's get the poll started, ladies. We're waiting on your results. I'm sure.
And I just want to go ahead and put it in a page and welcome everybody for joining me tonight for the conversation.
Let's see how we do it. Countdown. We're at 20 seconds. Okay. We've got 5 seconds left. And we're closing. Overwhelmingly, how would I know it? Bridgerton is the winner. And finally, let's move on to the last poll. So
well, we're good to go. So how's everybody tonight? Everybody doing good?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Doing okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good, good, good.
It's been a rough day.
I want to make sure that this one is down. So I don't want to hear this in the background. So we should be good. So today's been an interesting day. I want to take this time to welcome everyone to the conversation. Welcome everyone to the conversation. Hi, Jamie. How you doing?
Hi, everybody. Happy almost Mardi Gras. Happy Valentine's Day.
Welcome everyone to the conversation. And that's my phone backtracking. Okay. And so then we have Kimberly. Hey, sweetie. How you doing? Vanessa, what's up? Vanessa, you
hey, everybody.
Hey, hey, and then we have returning with us, Dr. Tower, who wants us to call her Grant. How you doing? From the Sunshine State, Florida.
Hey,
I
Grant.
just call her gorgeous. You can call her gorgeous because she is. I'm just saying.
Hey, Grant.
Hello, how is everybody?
We'll let you know in a minute.
We're okay, but we're acting like we're not.
We'll let you know in a minute. And
we're not okay. Today was
we're not okay. Yeah, we're not okay, but we're acting like we are.
That's right.
Well, I'm not.
Fake it till you make it.
We got lots to talk about. So you're perfect for us tonight. And then we're welcoming for the very first time, and I'm going to have Kim do the introductions for Dr. Colleen Hawthorne. We are so privileged to have you tonight with Dr. Tower. You two are going to bring it to the table for us. And I just want to welcome you to the show tonight. Like I said, we were excited. I was excited when Kim told me you were able to come tonight. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us this evening.
Can I say something to Miss Colleen before she starts talking? I went to your IG page or your website or wherever I went, and the first thing that popped out was that gleaming smile of yours. And it just made me smile. The colors on your website were so vibrant and inviting. I'm visual, so they just made my eyes pop. And I just want to compliment you on that. Great website.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad it's doing what it's designed to do from the moment someone gets on to feel uplifted. Thank you for that.
Well, I might have to look at your website after this conversation.
I'm thinking the same thing. Is it like bright yellows and blues and things?
Yeah, well, more of pinks, and then her pretty brown face and those white teeth. I mean, it's just whoever did it for you did a great job, and I just wanted to say that to you.
So much.
I'm just gonna tag on that I love your yellow shirt.
Thank you all. Thank you. Such beautiful ladies. Good to be here with you.
And so, Colleen, I already told them I'm just going to remain quiet on this part because I'm sold. I said this is my big sis now, so I might gush over her a little bit. So let me stay in my lane and just.
Nothing like family to set you up, right? For this.
Love you.
Love you back, little sis.
So we are. Our topic tonight is the mental state of America. And it is only fitting that we have Dr. Hawthorne, and obviously we invited Dr. Tower back to help and guide us through some things. As a country, we're not even going to get into individual people, women, men, races, sexuality. We're not even going to dig into that. Just as a country, I think we've just been through so much stuff that, it's a perfect time to discuss the mental state, because you have so many different things going on, from domestic abuse, the rise of domestic abuse going up because of the pandemic and everybody's home together. You've got suicide going up with the teenagers and the high school kids. You have elementary school kids going through some sort of depression and anxiety because they're not able to get a hold of their playmates and things like they used to. I'm sure you guys might have heard some of these things that I'm talking about and experienced them maybe in your own practices. For Vanessa, Kim, and Jamie, I'm sure you've heard of your friends talk about it maybe with their kids, or they've heard stories or something like that. So we've all had some type of, our fingers have all touched at some point someone who's been affected in some type of way, even if it's ourselves. No matter how reluctant I am to say this right now, I did not want to tap in, Kim's gonna laugh, but I did not want to tap into today's events in this, but like she convinced me, if we're feeling it, everybody else is feeling it. Mm-hmm. And thank you for reining me in, Kim. That's why you got to have a good team with you, because when you don't want to do something, you have to kind of see the bigger picture. And I just want to thank her openly for showing me the bigger picture this evening. So I think that if you guys don't mind pivoting a little bit, doctors, if we can deal with this, because today was a disgrace. I don't know what your views are, but I'm just going to speak for me. It was expected. I didn't think anything more was going to happen, because I don't think anything more of the people that were involved. It is what it is. And I said is what it is long before he did. So.
Well, I think the dangerous thing for this is that we know historically successful coups follow unsuccessful coups. So the idea that we have allowed this to go essentially without any consequences for the person who incited this and was essentially the leader makes this infinitely more likely that this is not only going to happen again, but when it happens again, it's going to be better organized with people with better weapons. They now have more time to put planning and forethought in it. We know about 15% of the folks we arrested in this Capitol mess had some sort of military training, which means they knew what they were doing. They have actual reconnaissance skills, and we are infinitely less safe from our enemies domestic than if there had been a different outcome.
Yeah. And it's a sad situation, because, and I actually went live on Facebook before this, like right after it happened.
I saw
And you did see that? And my view was, you've been warned. You've been warned. And without bringing race into it, but I have to, Black people have warned people in this country for a long time that racism exists. Certain people didn't think that racism existed. They thought we were being extra. They thought that we wanted things. They thought that we were being petty. They thought whatever they thought. But they saw during these last 4 years more than they've ever seen before, because it's always been here. It's just in your face now, that it existed. You have been warned that he is who he has shown us he is. Everything that he has shown us, that's who he is. So you've been warned. So when the stuff starts happening in 2022 and 2024, and I don't know if anybody saw what he said. Did anybody see what his statement was after this after the vote?
I saw a little bit, and it was
he basically said he's coming back. He's going to have an announcement in a few days to a week. Okay, so whatever he's planned, whatever coup he's planned is going to continue, because he's coming out with something. And this is what we were trying to stop. This is what we were trying to do. But you have people who are in office that don't want to support the people. And that's what I want you doctors to kind of help us through, because we have these people in office that are supposed to speak for us, but nobody's speaking for us. We've got people dying. What is it? Over 500,000 people have died now from COVID. And they have, they don't even have ample enough of vaccines to go through the people that need them, the essential workers, the teachers in school, the staff. They don't have that stuff yet. How do you deal with teachers who are afraid to go? I work in school, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not too thrilled about it. How do you deal with going back to school? How do you deal with sending your kids back in that environment? There are parents that don't want to even do hybrid with their kids. Even though people are kicking and screaming about their kids getting back to school, more than 50%, almost 60% of the parents are not sending their kids back to hybrid. I work in a school. We have between 1,400 and 1,800 kids in the school. We're getting back 300.
Yeah.
I'm not sending my sons back. I have 3 teenagers. We know teenagers they not only get COVID, but they spread COVID, and I don't think I can keep my kids' teachers safe.
The new strain actually infects kids, because the original strain didn't infect children to the same degree. We're not sure why, but the new strain infects kids as much as it does adults, and now you're starting to see hospitalizations of children. And the increased transmissibility, a lot of the new guidelines that just came out are based on previous science that isn't about the new variants and whether or not school will now become, the petri dish where everything spreads. So they're now using bad science to make new legislation.
So here's my thought, and I guess I'm kind of maybe a little bit more of because I'm a independent, so not Democrat or Republican. I'm kind of
independent.
We still love you.
And so looking at it from, the more conservative view of everything that's happened, everything that you spoke of, Mary, just to take it a step back, I think we are in a good position now to adjust the narrative, meaning these are the things that we already know exist. These are the things that we already know are probably going to head down that path in that direction. But I think we are in a better position now to re-strategize and cause a different outcome. So yes, they'll be planning and they'll be putting things together, but so can we. We don't need to sit in the reactive state as we, on the Democratic side, I think they typically do. It's more when things happen, we respond. We need to be a little bit more aggressive with taking the signs that have been presented to us and putting together a plan to circumvent what we know is coming. That's what we need to spend the next 4 years doing. He can plan all he wants and he can run again in 2024, but by the time we get to that point, we should already know what the course of action is. And I'm not waiting for Biden to do it. It's the people on the ground that need to do it.
And we have to remember that his supporters think that he's coming back into office on March 6th. So, I mean, we still have this ongoing insurrection ahead of 2022. Yes, if you read the
What is March 6th?
They believe that something's going to happen on March 6th and the military is going to aid 45 in this coup as an ouster of duly and fairly elected President Biden and Vice President Harris, and that this is all going to happen March 6th. So this acquittal they now see as a validation that that process is going to happen. So this, we need to be ready before 2022, before 2024. They have not lost momentum. If anything, what has happened on January 6th and then happened today has validated for them that this election was stolen from them, their country's being stolen from them, and they've become so brazen about it. And I would encourage, especially all the white women on this call, to go, or you're watching, go back and look at the evidence that was promoted by Trump's team. They were absolutely using women of color, who are our sisters, as props to justify Trump's call to violence. They were using women of color who have children who are at risk of police brutality and all sorts of other types of violence and systemic racism as a prop to further this angry Black woman trope. And the people who need to step up against this most right now, frankly, we who are white have to say this is wrong, it is unacceptable, and we need to take a stand.
So I would like to hear the doctors chime in at this point, because my mindset is the day after Election Day, I was already 1,000% focused on the midterms.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take it cycle by cycle. We cannot take it in year by year. Okay. So I would love to hear the doctors chime in at this point.
You know, folks, make no mistake about it. You know, you have a doctor here, psychiatric medicine doc, and then my colleague here in mental health, and we're sitting here on the call. The first thing we're going to do is be observing, right? Observing what we're hearing, what we're seeing, the feelings, the reactions, and so forth. Make no doubt about it. We are in such trauma overload in this country and globally that we've got to realize that, understand what that means. So as we're setting up strategy, you know, we're very clear and we are prepared mentally to continue in this. So some of the things I'm noticing, it started with the person that opened up saying, look, thank goodness for Kim, who said, yes, talk about it, it's happened. That's the first thing we have to do. When there's trauma, do not avoid it. That's how this kind of catches up with us in other behaviors, in our bodies getting sick and so forth down the road. So I want to commend you all for that. Kim, you are right on with that. All right. The other thing is, you know, emotional traumas are like any other trauma. Think of physical traumas. You're taking a hit, you feel that. It affects you. So the same thing with emotional traumas. In these days, we're taking hit after hit after hit, even unexpectedly so. And here we are even on this call today talking about the state of mental health in America, and we've just dealt with another trauma, right? So acknowledging it, absolutely yes. Pausing to say, what got hit? How do I feel about this? Just like any physical injury. When you take a hit, we don't ignore it and say, okay, I'm going to get on that leg that just broke and just, you know, blaze ahead. You have to be able to pause, sit back. What are these feelings? And acknowledge those, right? What got injured and why? And then take actual steps for treatment. You cannot ignore it. Part of my concern, even with, let's just look at the insurrection and the people, you know, in Congress and all of us watching these tremendous traumas. You're talking about lives lost. You're talking about us watching, literally watching, people potentially lose their lives. That's a big deal with trauma. The brains get that. They're going to hold that in until it is processed. So part of the concern, have we allowed our leaders that time and space to be able to pull back and get some of that help they need? This stuff will creep up. It doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
So again, just want to commend the call saying, look, this trauma happened today. We've got to address it. Give ourselves that time. And then collectively, you're more prepared to come up with the strategies, as Kim said, and that has to be right away. The attention you give to yourself to stay strong to do that, and then starting to organize. Again, like a physical hit, you address the hit, don't ignore it. It will turn into, if you've broken the leg, the limb not setting properly, pain down the road, limping, all sort of things. So think of these emotional traumas exactly the same way. Would you agree, Dr. Grant?
Yeah, and I was going to say, a lot of the times people think, especially with collective trauma, which is a trauma that's happening, and that's the pandemic, 9/11, what we watched on the 6th, that collective traumas don't only have to happen where you are presently. A lot of the time now, we're watching it on the media. And because we've had traumas in our lives, the areas of the brain that, holds our trauma is now getting another hit. So again, it activates it and the trauma comes right back up. Whatever you were feeling, it gets amplified. And if that's not dealt with, then the next trauma builds on it and builds on it until finally you get to a place where you are getting very ill. So we want to, think about, if you felt traumatized, then you felt traumatized. It doesn't matter that it didn't happen to you or that, someone else has it worse. Like all that is the wrong mindset for a healthy mind. We have to accept how we feel, how we are affected, because some people, they can bounce right back. I am not that person. I am the person that sits there, sick in the stomach, feeling that it's a little hard to breathe, my chest. I go through all the physical reactions that I'm having emotionally. And you know what? I own that. You own how you feel. You have to own how it affects you and not compare and contrast to anyone else. If it affects you, it affects you. Once you acknowledge it, you can then start to treat it.
So let me ask this question. In dealing with today, and I've heard mentioned, we've dealt with trauma, and here we get hit with another trauma today. It's been trauma after just with not even your personal life. We're not even dealing with the personal life because we all know that's happening. You got people who have family members dying from COVID. You have people that have had COVID, survived, and are still living with symptoms. They have a new alternate in their life that they have to deal with, right? Some people lost their jobs. Some people had to take a cut in pay. Some people lost. So you have all of this loss, right? And then in the midst of that, you have, these different levels of trauma that's happened in our government on top of that when those, and I'm just speaking for me now, when you have these different levels of things that you're dealing with in your personal life, and then you have all these things that you're dealing with politically, which is why most of us, Vanessa, Kim, and Jamie, at different levels in their lives and their careers have always dealt with politics, but we got together to do something like this. How do you now take those different layers, add this on it, and and keep pushing forward. What do you recommend for something like that? Because even in all of this, I still don't even feel like the work that we did meant anything. I know it did, but you just don't, because it doesn't feel like you're being heard, because they're going to do whatever they want to do. How do you stop that feeling? I'm going to quit because they're going to do what they want to do.
That's a great question, Ms. Hayes. And the first thing is, don't stop expressing what you're feeling. You have to be able to express the feelings to neutralize some of that initial angst to get to the other step. Otherwise, it's going to be triggered in other ways you don't even realize it. So not that this is a session here, but if it's okay, I would just model that and ask you, when what happened today or any of the traumas, how did you feel? And if you can, feeling is not so much talking about it intellectually, that doesn't have the neutralizing effect that we need to help with the healing process. There's something about the psychology and how the brain functions to get to healing and clarity to name the actual feeling. So without even editing it, if it's okay, how do you feel?
How can we help our friends through this? Because that's been one of the challenges for me, because sometimes I'm not in such a bad place, but I look at some of my friends, they're really, really struggling and suffering. And Mary had asked me to bring the statistics, which I do. And so I did want to make sure, for context, if you're suffering right now, you're not alone. They did a study, and 40% of US adults reported struggling with mental health or substance issues during this pandemic. It's 31% for anxiety and depression, 26% for trauma, stress-related disorder symptoms, 13% started an increase in substance abuse or use, and 11% seriously considered suicide. That's adults. And we have similar, it's about 1 in 4 for teenagers suffering from real mental health issues during this pandemic. And the data shows that it's younger adults, racial and ethnic minorities, essential workers, unpaid adult caregivers in particular are struggling, and who are disproportionately experiencing these really challenging mental health outcomes and substance abuse and elevated suicidal ideation. If we have a friend who we know is suffering, how can we help? What's the right approach? Because it's sometimes, even in the days when I'm having a bad day, I'll tell you, I don't feel like I can go to my friends because I know that they're suffering too.
Yeah. And actually what I was doing with Mary is kind of modeling a little bit of how you would, approach that, pretty intentionally. I see it in her eyes, in the words she was using earlier. So if, that's a friend, you say, how are you feeling? Don't let them just intellectualize it away, because that's not going to have kind of the neutralizing effect. So very intentionally, I was kind of modeling that. And that's how we can approach it. When you're feeling strong enough to do that, that's going to go different, from friend to friend at different times, or family member to family member, depending on where you are, in the process.
Can I speak on dealing with it for a second? How I deal with, well, you asked earlier, Doc, when we were watching TV or whatever earlier, how were we feeling when the announcement was made or when the verdict came down? I was sitting on the couch. I was doing stuff for Valentine's Day or whatever I was doing. And then I just looked up and I saw the numbers on the screen. And my head dropped. And I was like, nothing can stop him. Nothing has stopped him. And then I was mad. Then I was angry. Then I said, we have to keep going because we have to crush him, period. And if that means getting all of those Republican senators that voted no today and have them lose their seats in the midterms or whenever, then that's what we have to do. But I will also add about what Jamie said about she feels bad about, she wants to know how she can help her friends simply by calling out to them and saying, what do you need? tell a joke, make them laugh. I called Mary out of the blue. I called Mary out of the blue this week, and I said, "Would you just pray for me?" And she said, "For what?" And she said, "Oh, don't worry about it," because she knew what was going on. And then she prayed with me on the phone, and then we got off the phone. I mean, it's just the little things. And here's the last thing. Check on your strong friends.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Check on your strong friends.
That's the truth.
Amen.
We need it more than the not so strong friends. Because the not so strong friends have a lot of people checking on them.
And the skills to ask for help when they need it.
But the strong friends don't.
Right.
So don't assume if you have a strong friend that strong friend is handling things, because we are not.
Vanessa, you are speaking to my soul right now. And you about to make me cry on this call.
But that's what you just did for me, Kim. I'm gonna let you say what you gotta say. But I was trying to be strong and not deal with this on camera.
Yeah.
And you called me out and said, it's not just you, it's everybody.
That's
is. Right.
And and I was going to kind of make a comment to Jamie's comment, and then add to what Vanessa said. It's one thing to say that we have friends that are suffering. But it's another thing to say that we have friends that are suffering that we don't know are suffering. And a lot of times there's a combination of things. Either they don't even know themselves that they're suffering because they're so used to being in the overcoming, in the superhero mode, in the active of it all, that they don't notice that they are needing a moment or they're needing some support. And so I think during these times I have found, and Colleen, your sister, I have found that it is of the utmost importance to not just be there for your friends, but be there for your friends, even when it means checking them when they don't know that they need checking on them when they don't know they need checking on. And that just sometimes, just that act itself can be the help that they need or they don't know that they need. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten through this year with everything that was going on. My industry got crushed and I had to hustle. I'm a single mom living in a, rich county. I had to hustle. And if it wasn't for my support system, I don't know how I would have made it through sane. And it wasn't that I asked. It's just that we got together and stayed in a cocoon of our friendship circle. And sometimes we didn't even say anything. We were just there. And sometimes that's when those things transpire, when it's like, oh, she does need help, or, oh, you know what, let me just do this. And I think it'll end up working itself out.
And I want to add one more thing. We have to be, words are important. And we have to be very careful about the words we use to people. And I'll give you an example. I was watching the trial the other day, and one of those stupid attorneys said something dumb. And I called up my girlfriend. I said, "Did you just hear what he said?" And she said, "Vanessa, don't let that mess bother you. You'll be okay." And I just hung up the phone on her.
That's unhelpful.
Why would you say that? No,
Unhealthy.
it is bothering me. I'm voicing that to you. You're supposed to be a friend. Don't dismiss your friends like that. Don't let that stuff bother you. What kind of crap is that? Don't say that to people. It's hurtful and it's dismissive. Because guess what? we are all grieving. Grief is worse than trauma. Right,
Grief
docs?
is a trauma.
Absolutely.
Grief is a trauma.
Grief is a trauma. And if you ask me, I've been grieving for 4 years of Donald Trump. I should really be going to grief counseling is where I should be going. So we got to be careful about the words we use. People are triggered so easily now. It's bad, docs.
That's right. Absolutely. You ladies are so on point. And this, you see that you can already see kind of the power of starting to do this. Because as Kim was saying, you know, for those strong people, and they're all strong people, the go-to people on this call, we know how to get back up. We got that down. But we miss this part that is so critical to us really being able to push forward in a healthy way and really come up with good, strong solutions. So absolutely what you're doing, what we're doing now is an essential part, and also modeling that for other folks. We know the get up and, you know, make it happen piece, right, Kim? So glad and commend you guys for what we're doing here.
I mean, I would add to that. I think some of us who are the get up and make it happen people are in a really bad place because there's nothing we can do right now, especially with this pandemic. And I would add that
That's how I feel.
as a high risk person during this pandemic, I've spent a year with the reality that if I get this virus, I am unlikely to survive. And it's changing me. I mean, it's a year of basically staying in my house as much as I can and being afraid all the time. And I still have my job. I love my job. My kids are healthy. They're actually, we're all introverts in my house. So we're gonna mulligan the year academically. I'm throwing my hands up. I've got a kid with a learning disability and another one who's also neurodivergent. So we're just making do. And I put on a smiling face every day, and I try to be strong for my kids and my friends, and I sparkle at work. But I've spent a year afraid I'm going to die. And that Grant knows my medical history. I'm not exaggerating. And it's been hard. And I want to be the person my friends can go to when they're down. I want to be that person. I have my job. I'm going to run a half marathon tomorrow if it's not too icy. So I'm not unhealthy. I'm doing great. But a year of constant fear has been trying on me. And I do have a good support system. I can't imagine how people who are also in this situation of knowing the risk of the virus is exceptionally high for them, who don't have their job and don't have good friends and their family, who've lost more family members than I have. I've lost a couple. That just this year-long pandemic on top of the stressors. I can't imagine, you know, if I were a different person and, you know, if I were didn't have the privilege of being a white woman through this with every terrible thing that Trump is doing. I mean, I'm not as afraid for my children, and it's, I don't even know where I'm going with it.
So our dear world holder upper sister.
Yeah, and I want to.
What do you need that you haven't asked for?
Everybody to wear a mask. That's number one.
Right.
That's real.
Imagine, right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I just want to know that my life is worth people being mildly inconvenienced for.
I have to interject here because I'm sorry, Jamie. I'm not going to accept this right now because, you know, you're a guest to the show, but let me just bring you up to speed. These three ladies are phenomenal. And so they have not been sitting in the house afraid of what's going to happen and being, you know, how they're going to die. Like she said, she's been hitting the ground out there, talking to the community, gathering people. During the election, she was present at the voting sites and making sure that people got their information. Mary, same thing. She got her kids in cars, my kid in a car with her kids, and was going and knocking on doors. Vanessa, I mean, these three ladies have spent the last year really pushing forward, even within the confines of this pandemic, even within the confines of all of this stress that we all are suffering. And they have used this platform and many others as an outlet to really kind of help people still have a voice. So we're not going to take that shine away right now.
I wore my mask when I went out. I did go to the vote polls and worked, but I wore
Yeah.
a mask and a face shield. I mean, I'm
and-
still going to do my part.
Yeah, and Jamie, you know, you did a lot. You know, I think we had this conversation before that I can tell you to the day is long how, you know, all of this has traumatized me and my family and how it affects me as a minority woman and as a mom of a Black son. You know, what I can't tell you is for the people who empathize and the people who have come out to support and they've had to do it in an environment that is so hostile, even within their own families. You know, that's something that you can speak to. And I commend you for doing it and holding steadfast to your ethics and your morals and your knowing what is right. That is something that I wish more people in our society and the Senate would be able to have the guts to do. And we learned today that they don't.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that is sort of everyone has spoken around is that what trauma does, all of this, is it disconnects us. And this is why this pandemic has been so hard, because we're stuck inside. We can't touch people. We're social creatures. And all of this is disconnecting. So one of the things I do is every time I'm coming back from the dentist, I call Jamie, not Jamie. And
Yeah, Grant moved to Florida and I can't go see her. I have a friend in Florida now.
it's not a great place to be. I wouldn't allow you right now, Deb.
But if it weren't for the pandemic, I could go get my sunshine fix and my Grant fix.
Yeah, but it's being connected. It's actually calling, like speaking to Jamie, and Jamie's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't be, more uplifting. And I was like, Jamie, just talking to you makes my day better, makes everything better. And that's really what friends are, and our connections. We need more connections. So it's so important. I try to call 3 people a day, ask how they are.
Yeah.
It's something I've learned in my alcohol program, because the less connected we are, the more we are alone with our demons. And so reaching out to your friends and just saying, I just want you to know I was thinking about you and I love you so much. I can't wait till this pandemic is over so we can have lunch.
We're going to the beach.
Yeah, Jamie's going to the beach, as you can
With
see.
you.
Very tan.
Yeah, I'm very tan, as everyone can see. I'll be under an umbrella.
We're all going to sneak on that trip with y'all. So don't But but seriously, this worries me because you said March 6th and I was going back to the mountains. And now I'm thinking I should probably cancel my trip. I don't know if I want to be
Or maybe you want to be in the mountains on March 6th.
No. Not as an African-American woman, not in the Virginia mountains. No, I don't. Not on March 6th. I don't know. We'll have to talk offline, Jamie.
I'm concerned. I'm legitimately concerned because, again, historically, what we know is when there is a successful coup, it's usually successful because they've tried several times beforehand.
That's how it happened with Hitler. He actually, many years before, I want to say in 1923, they tried to, do a coup and they failed. He got put in prison for like a year. So of course he came back and they were successful.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I think we also want to put in the context that the Republicans now are actually, I'm always very hesitant to compare anything to the Holocaust. The Republicans are posting things. Gina Carano, who I think say her name was an actress on Star Wars, just lost her job with Disney for posting something saying that being a Republican, Republicans in this country are treated as the same way that the Jews were treated by Hitler.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, I
She
have
lost
a
a job
problem with
behind
that.
that.
I'm like, being Jewish, no, I'm sorry. People did not try to exterminate them like pestilence. No. They don't get to call that mulligan.
I have a problem with that too. And I went through something recently with another group where we were on a business call and someone evoked the Holocaust. as a comparison to racism with Black people in America. So they were using the Holocaust as to say it was a whataboutism that was used.
Uh-oh, so racism isn't so bad because we didn't
Because of the
round-
Holocaust. Yeah, racism in America isn't all that bad because, you know, we had the Holocaust.
Didn't we though have hundreds of years of slavery here and genocide of African Americans in the country? Did I imagine
Talk
that?
about the lives that were lost between the transition from where they were taken from
Yeah.
Yeah.
to where they arrived. Let's talk about the bodies in the oceans that we'll never know about.
So in my mind, people that draw those comparisons are morally bankrupt and they have no other defense. So
There has to be a medical term for this type of delusion. I mean, what do we call that?
There's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on though. And I think
Yes.
that's something that,
Beware.
and
Absolutely.
Colleen, you could probably speak to it. I work with
Mhm.
with biases in my job, but I'm not a psychological professional. Colleen, do you want to, I mean, because I don't know if our viewers are all familiar with cognitive dissonance and the backfire effect and how a lot of that is actually going on right now.
Oh, yeah. You know, cognitive dissonance is kind of a powerful and can be really dangerous phenomenon that literally the brain cognitively can, know something's happening, but almost kind of dismiss it and start to believe it's not. So we have to be really careful about that. It happens a lot. One of the things I want to say, it's a little bit connected somewhat, is that Kim kind of called it out a little bit. There were at least 3 people on the call who were saying, I'm not doing enough. Miss Mary, who's leading and helping you all lead this very powerful group, and said maybe it didn't matter. Jamie's saying, well, I'm okay. I have, things going on. I have a job and this and that. What about the people that don't? You guys, it is so important to really keep the truth in front of you of just how powerful you are, just how incredible and powerful what you are doing is. Not just this call, but the way you show up, This is not to be dismissed. My sister here who said, look, when someone, basically was telling her, you're not feeling that, don't say that. To have the insight to know that that's not okay. All of this stuff is very, very powerful. You've got to acknowledge it. That's such an important part of this process of what we're going through, and modeling to others, not allowing this cognitive dissonance thing. When you have truth, fiction, it can get very, very messy for the brain. So please keep telling yourselves and others the truth. It starts with just how powerful you are, how you're showing up, the times when you feel like this is pissing me off and I'm going to speak the truth about that. All of these things are so powerful. Please don't dismiss them. They're important for the process and they're important for the healing process too. And to then keep your minds clear and focused to be able to do these very powerful things you're doing, and show up. So please make sure you're acknowledging the truth within yourselves of what you're doing, who you are, and just how much it is affecting us all. Doc is there nodding away. You guys are the powerful people here putting this together and then asking us to come and join to just, add our piece. So.
Amen, Doc. Amen. I keep telling these 3 women, I keep telling them, we have more power than Donald Trump has. We've proven that he's a weak vessel. I don't give a crap what's going to supposedly happen on March 6th. That has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Because we've already blazed this trail. How long we been on this show, Mary? For a year? We got Biden-Harris elected. We took over the House. We took over the House, the Senate, and the White House. We did that. The American voters did that. So why are we even concerned about a March 6th? Let him put on his party hat and ride a horse. We don't care.
I have two things to
We
say.
have to keep, what is that thing I heard today? Hashtag keep moving forward.
Yep,
That's
that's a
it.
Disney quote.
So one of the things that we can do to feel like more powerful when it comes to elected officials is start putting and having our friends put their money where their mouth is. Let companies know if you give money to the people who voted against impeachment and against conviction, you are not getting my money. Because there is nothing more powerful in politics than the purse.
And that's all they understand.
Exactly.
That's all they understand. So if you hit them in the pocket,
Yeah.
then they'll listen.
And the second thing I was going to say is, while it's so important to have a support network and have all these people in your life, get rid of toxic people. The toxic people makes all of the work you do on yourself and you do with your connections drag you down.
Can you say that louder one more time for people?
Say for the people in the back.
For the people in the way back, say it again.
Say it again.
They'll drag you down. People do not have, you give permission for people to be in your life. They don't
And
have
that includes your man. If you got a toxic man.
I'm sorry, Dr. Grant. I've been removing toxic people since the 90s, so COVID was no different for me. I perfected it.
Not the 90s.
You were talking about collective trauma, and I was thinking through all of my hair and makeup and fashion choices in the 90s. I'm glad that we didn't have the internet then to document them.
There's no social media in the 90s, thank God.
I'm 5'2". I was like 5'6.5" with my hair in the 80s.
Yeah, they ate their bangs to Jesus.
What was it? Aquanet? It was
Yes!
Aquanet, right? Yep, I had it too. I used it.
Bit of hair missing because I was teasing with Aquanet and flesh
But
came out.
at least it wasn't Gorilla Glue, though. So we're all doing better than that.
This is true. This is true.
Why are
Thank
people putting
goodness.
Gorilla Glue in their hair?
There was an incident.
There was an incident
The
recently.
person who drank bleach, right?
No, she.
Oh, this
there's
was a sister. No, it was a sister. So it's this gel that we use. I use it. My son uses it to spike his hair, and it makes your hair really, really stiff. I don't know what she did. Did she use the whole bottle? Is that what happened?
She used Gorilla Glue, literal Gorilla Glue, instead of
It's called Gorilla Glue. So that's where she got it mixed up. The actual gel that spikes your hair is called Gorilla Glue.
Gorilla Snot, right? That's Gorilla.
Well, Gorilla Snot.
Yeah,
She went
and
out and bought Gorilla Glue.
Ooh.
And so her hair was glued
No, stop it.
for how long, JB? Like a month?
Yeah,
She had to have it surgically removed from her hair. It was all over the internet all this week.
I
feel
miss
terrible for her.
And check this out. She asked for a small amount of money on a GoFundMe, and she got $19,000 from the GoFundMe.
throw a GoFundMe.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
She's gonna get some really hella nice extensions with that
Okay, but-
$19,000. I'm just saying.
But can I
Maybe
tell
it
you
covered
that
her surgery, because I know her group insurance at work definitely is not covering that.
well, can I tell you that the comment section, when they announced that she got that 19,000 in her GoFundMe, was hilarious. It was the highlight of my day.
Wow.
It still had to be scary.
the
I
laugh
mean,
I
imagine
need
how
right now.
scared she
That's
was.
funny. That's funny. But I want to circle back real quick and ask the doctors this question. So as a checkpoint, because I know your time is valuable, I want to let you guys go. But as a checkpoint to what we've talked about and people dealing with the stress and trauma, what are some signs that we should look for, or are there times that we should check in with ourselves, like a self-check to see where we are as individuals, because people might be watching who may not know the signs that they're, experiencing that stress or trauma from life, or what has happened politically, or what's happening in the country, or COVID. And then what types of just checks and balances. Every now and then we can check in with ourselves and say, okay, I'm feeling like this. Let me, back down or slow down, or not talk to this toxic person because they're not in the right headspace for me.
And
The first, go ahead, Doc.
I was going to say, one of the first signs you'll get out of is you'll find yourself tensing in your chest. It's really common for people to sort of pull themselves in. It's a naturally protective pose. And so you'll feel like tightness. Also, you feel tired. It's a lot of energy when you have stress and trauma, and you'll start to feel like, you're like, I don't know why I'm so tired. I just feel like I need to sleep, but I'm not sleeping well. Dr. Hawthorne?
Yes, Dr. Grant, absolutely. The sleep disturbance, sometimes even appetite disturbance, right? Either we think of emotional eating, sometimes it's eating, overeating, but with some people, it could be not having an appetite. Sometimes being more irritable. And, if we're not really checking it, you would think, well, that person just is annoying me. But if you're noticing you're extra irritable, maybe even tearful, pay attention to those things. And also with the check-in with yourselves, check in every day, maybe in the morning and definitely at night. If you're not used to doing that, just start to do that. We should be checking at all times. Where am I on what happened today, right? At night, you can think, just write a gratitude journal. Even if it's 3 things you're grateful for that day. Also write things that, you weren't really happy with, and then how will I do better maybe tomorrow? So just start small, but it's important to check in all the time as a way of life. Also, and Dr. Grant spoke to this, listen to your body. Our bodies tell us everything, right, Dr. Grant? We hadn't always been taught to do that. We're kind of getting there now. Dr. Grant said, well, the tension in your chest. With me, I will get a headache or an ache in my head. I know now when I do, initially, before it turns into a headache, that's a signal for me. That's the sign. Something your brain is scanning and your heart scanning something that doesn't feel quite right. So these things are good to just signal you early on. It always means something. The body always knows. So pay attention to those things.
I get this have a headache, and I find that if I stop myself and I do my deep stomach breathing,
yes,
because we breathe a lot more shallow when we're stressed and when we're anxious. So we're not really getting oxygen to our brains. And so I find that if I do my deep breathing exercises for 10 to 15 times that I breathe in really deeply, that the headache doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I found, and I don't know if any other people are seeing this, I wear a fitness tracker watch, and over the last year, my heart rate variability, which is something that's very much driven by anxiety and stress, has taken a huge hit. It's dropped dramatically. My fitness level actually has not. My VO2 max is still high. I run about 30 miles a week. I'm still exercising. Grant will tell you if I work out hours a day. It's my thing. So although my normal cardiac measures are terrific, but that heart rate variability, which is the one that actually is really impacted by stress, mine dropped from the high 40s down into the 20s, which is a real sign that there's something going on, and that's linked to longevity and some other things. So if you have if you have a fitness tracker, I would recommend, watching that in particular, because for me, I've had to start saying, okay, the stress level I'm going through is actually having a really negative impact on my health that could have long-term implications, no matter how much I work out or how healthy I'm eating. This just pretending everything is glitter and sunshine and unicorns there's a tax on my body, and I don't want that.
So Jamie, in that moment, let's say, what have you found works when you feel that that's happening, when you have the indication that that's happening? Do you do like breathing techniques? Is there something that you do or have learned to do to help bring you back level?
I have tried using some breathing techniques, but those have not been as successful as me. It's just, sometimes it's just, I just try to sit down and just not do anything. If that makes sense, just not, because I feel like I have a job where the work never ends. I could always do better at it, because I know a lot of this is subjective in terms of I could keep doing more. The house is never clean. The only thing in my life that has ever always been there for me is laundry. Laundry is always there for you.
It's always
And
there.
it is always there. And sometimes I just have to I don't know how to describe it other than I just need to just stop.
Absolutely, Jamie, you said it. Rest, right? Rest. And the first part of restoration for us to any healing, no matter what we're dealing with, that word, part REST is in there for a reason. Rest is so critical. That's why we are designed with these clocks, circadian rhythm, that we override. We have learned to override as humans, but there's a reason, our bodies are designed. We're supposed to rest when it's dark. That's why our body's natural melatonin increases. Melatonin makes you sleep, right? We know that. We're taking a lot of synthetic melatonin these days, but we have it in our bodies. We're designed that way. When it's dark, the body is to rest, to detox the brain, detox the different organ systems. But we've learned to kind of override that. And also we're designed at certain times of the day to be pulling back and doing nothing. Somehow that over time, has become seen as something weakness, or, unfortunately, because of some of these things happening now, and we've learned with COVID, okay, what were we left with? Breathing. Hello, because that's a major thing. Right? That's how we're designed. We were left with, family, because it's a major thing. That's what we need. We're left with, we could still get the sunlight because it's a major thing. We need vitamin D to be healthy. So rest is so critical, during the day, certainly nighttime. That's why the clock, circadian rhythm, and certain chemicals, cortisol in particular, goes down at night. Cortisol is kind of the thing that gives us energy and, right, energizer bunny chemical, goes down at night for a reason. And then it starts coming up between 6 and 8 in the morning, because we're designed that way, right? So that rest is so important to getting through, to staying clear, to detoxing. We're talking about trauma. All of these traumas cause a lot of chemical reactions in our bodies like crazy. That's why, you're seeing some of the variation in your heart rate. Inside, our bodies are doing stuff we can't necessarily tell till it's late. But these things are happening, all kinds of inflammation and toxins breaking down every time we're taking these traumas. So it takes rest to detox them. It takes the breathing to detox them. It takes, water, all of this. So we should be doing more of these things, more now than ever, because of all that we are being inundated with and having to ingest by default.
There's also, technology, while it does get in the way of, really start to work on your good sleeping habits, not having a television in your bedroom, or at least turning it
Guilty.
off. Yeah, I know you are. That your bed is not used for anything except sleep and sex. Yes, I said the S, other S.
2 S's.
And that when you get up, hitting the snooze button, all it does is it's going to prolong, and make it then so you're rushing. And the more rushing, so then of course you're getting your stress back up and you're undoing all the good stuff that sleep did. Another thing is, on my phone, I have apps for meditation because I can't seem to do it on my own, or mindfulness. I also have a coloring app. I do a coloring book, because I have ADHD, my mind doesn't slow down. Try to find little things. When I panic, there is grounding techniques that can be used if you find yourself really panicking. hold ice cubes in your hand and let it melt. If you're really panicking and you're finding yourself really upset, because it's a distraction. And another thing trauma does is it separates you from your body. You know, if you're really connected with your body, you don't use a lot of extra energy. But because of trauma, we're not connected with our bodies. So doing things to connect with our bodies, we happen to have a pool. So going in there and just waving my arms and feeling the water, even do this in the shower, feel the water going over your body. Really get in touch with how your body's feeling and how the sensations are. Because of allergies, everything I use in the shower smells like nothing. But I ran out of shampoo, so I got Neutrogena with grapefruit, and I am enjoying it. Just having like aromatherapy smells, all of these things to really get back into your senses is just so important right now. Really get in touch with our bodies, and accepting of our bodies and ourselves, goes a long way to healing a lot of our trauma.
I want to go back to the sex part.
Yeah, please. Because I got stuck at the getting over our bodies and stuff. And I'm like, there's a lot more of me now post-COVID to get in tune with, girth wise.
I think we've all, I put on a little weight during COVID.
We all got a little
You don't get to, no. I put on 50 pounds. You don't get to say anything.
Okay. I'm
You're
about
still
40.
gorgeous.
Yeah. 23 in 2 months and had no idea it was happening.
Wow.
So on that note,
Because you're
I'm
not
going to bring up another. Say that again, Doc.
I said, because you're not in touch with your body.
I know. And guess what I was doing? I was eating, I was going to bring up another S word, and then we'll get back to Jamie asked about the sex S word, but I was eating sugar.
Yeah. I cut sugar.
So for a
That'll get you every time.
Oh my
And as
goodness.
someone with an autoimmune, let me remind you, sugar increases inflammation in everyone, not just me, but somebody with an autoimmune disease.
Yes.
Sugar increases inflammation, which is really not good for you when you're stressed.
Absolutely.
Know that.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring up this sugar word, because a lot of times we think, well, it'll just make you gain weight. But like Jamie just said, oh my gosh, inflammation, right? And like Jamie said, say that again, Doc.
Reduces longevity.
Right, reduces longevity, and it decreases our serotonin level. That's just a fancy name for one of the chemicals in our body that helps pretty much to control everything, like sleep, appetite, mood, anxiety level. So we want the serotonin level to be high enough to manage all of these things. Sugar decreases it. So the very thing we're trying to like fix, sleeping and all these other things with the sugar, feeling better, is really chemically depleting the serotonin that we need more than ever.
So wait a minute. So I can't bake cookies before I go to bed?
Oh, no. So think of a different way to make them. And then, knowledge is power, right? So if we don't know this, we know sugar's not good for us. But like Jamie's saying, no, we know now, like inflammation, when all these cells and everything get inflamed, they don't work properly, right? And everything falls out of balance. So for me, I have and had a lot more allergies. I think my immune system is improving. Jamie talks a lot about her body and how she's working to restore and strengthen, and you will live. And so I can really relate to that. So for a long time, I couldn't even look at ice cream, I'd get sick. Remember Kim at the birthday parties and stuff? I'm like, no cake, no ice cream, you sure, Auntie? Right, so as I'm getting better, I cheated one day and I'm like, oh my goodness, not just regular ice cream, I have to get something that's pretty clean, like all natural, Jamie, the all natural, has not a lot of the chemicals and so forth, but it's
my boyfriend makes ice cream for me.
Ooh, okay. But
and then he gets sex, tying that together.
Absolutely. We're going to come back to that sex, to the S word. It's very critical. But anyway, we got to get back to that. Clean that up before I just leave it there. But so I couldn't have these things for so long. And when I realized my body would accept it, it was right around October, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't like totally flatline for a whole week. So without knowing it, I was eating more than I realized because I hadn't been able to. And teleworking, so you just pull on the pants with the stretchy pants with the elastic. And so didn't realize it was happening till one day, I think I had to do news or something. I tried to put on a dress and it was like, whoa, what happened? So really, seriously, with the sugar, just find ways to modify that. It's inflaming the brain, everything. So if you notice sometimes, well, I'm not thinking as clearly when I wake up, all of those things. So the other S word, right, Dr. Grant, with the sex. Oh dear, Doc, you got to help me with this. I will just say from the chemical standpoint, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague to tidy it up. But, sex increases oxytocin is one thing, one of the chemicals. It increases other things too. But one of the big things, not only sex, but touch, emotion and touch increases our oxytocin level. Oxytocin is the chemical that is excreted in breast milk when, woman is lactating, and that's what helps the bonding so tight with that baby and the mother. Right? It's chemical. So with all of us, when we have touch, and we have, oftentimes a lot less of this now, during the pandemic, and even people in relationships, depending on how they're navigating that, the stress of all of this, sometimes have been more distant. And then of course, being careful about hugging because of COVID as well. So again, knowledge is power. So that when we realize, oh, I need this chemical to help with my mood, right? We then think, okay, how can I, what can I do? Or the opportunities I have to boost it, it is important from a health standpoint. So yes, within sex, I'll leave it like that. Healthy. My thing is, anything you're doing, if it's not healthy, somewhere along the line, it's going to be undoing whatever the healthy part is. So healthy relationships, non-toxic ones, touching people and it's not healthy, that's just not going to work. So Dr. Grant, help me out here.
We're going to touch on masturbation because orgasms increase oxytocin. So one of the things to help you increase your oxytocin is masturbation. And you can't get COVID that way or any STDs. Also, you can pet your dog or your cat. Or
you can't masturbate your dog. We're not going that direction. Let's just be very, very, very clear.
No peanut butter with the dog.
Two separate thoughts.
No peanut butter with the dog.
I knew Jamie was going to say something.
I like the first option. Let's just
talk about everything here.
Well, and I think though there is the other thing though that I found is that I've tried to do under having read some things about the importance of touch is, my boys are in distance learning. So I've tried to make sure that I hug them extra. They're teenagers, they cringe a little, but they've actually been a little more receptive to it. I just think they want some physical touch to make sure that I'm hugging my kids. And, I hug them in the morning, I hug them during the day. If they're not, cameras not on, I'll go down and kiss them on top of their heads while they're doing their schoolwork and just try to give them some physical interaction other than them trying to beat the heck out of each other, because I have 3 teenage sons.
Yeah, that's a different chemical that increases, right? And really the loving conversations and talk and these things really are critical to our health, to our survival, especially now. So don't underestimate the power of that. And again, what we're even doing here, the laughter, these things are critical. Again, particularly for the world holder-uppers, we've got that down. When you guys get off this call or tomorrow, you'll be right back to, okay, we need to do this. And on the next call, Mary's got topics and all, we got that down. But this sort of thing that you're modeling here, safe space with people that are healthy and uplifting, this stuff is so, so powerful. So we've got to make sure you're doing these things, with connecting with the right people, talk about the real feelings, share what your needs are, avoid the toxins as much as you can, detox, so the water, the healthy eating, the rest, all of these things we're talking about are not airy-fairy. They really are the very powerful things we need to be doing to get through these times and come out on the other side even healthier. If we choose to make it that, that's what it'll be. Really, some of this is an opportunity. It's pushing some things we've been kind of crying for years. It's pushing it. So it's people like you, it's people like us that can, you know, what we're doing is much more powerful. Light is much more powerful than darkness. Darkness ain't even real. Light is. So the more we're shining that light, March 6th, please. So we've got to really, really do that. Light is powerful and cancels darkness. Literally, scientifically, it's not just a spiritual thing to say. So keep shining, support one another in that process. And, you know, that other stuff, we can take care of that. Literally, it's a universal law. So the brighter we're doing this thing, we've got this.
That's why your website pops. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
I'm just touching on
And
what
Dr.
Jane said.
Grant, did you have something you want to add before we?
I want to finish with, I don't have kids, but if you have kids, you have to tell them they're important and that you love them. You know, that they're special, that, you know, the things about them that, you know, if they were ever gone, you would miss so much. You know, we're having a high rate of suicidality right now in teenagers and young kids, that we want to make sure to give them a little extra attention, you know, and really hone in on, you know, what are you feeling? You know, right now, I find it's very stressful. You know, what are you feeling? You know, give them permission to feel, give them permission to speak up, you know, give them permission to be themselves and feel connected.
And to that number earlier, it's 1 in 4 young adults have struggled with suicidal thoughts since the coronavirus hits. 1 in 4. We all think it's not our kid. But this is really hard. And when I think about my twins are 13, they don't really remember anything between age 3. They've got about 10 years of good memories. So 10% of their memories have been spent in quarantine. I mean, think about that. For me at 47, that'd be almost 5 years. So this is a significant experience for them. And it's, you know, it's all of their recent memory. We talked about cognitive biases and about cognitive dissonance. There's this recency bias in your brain as well. So this is their world now. And I don't know what all we can do, but you know, the world will start opening back up. And I reassure them of that constantly. This is hard. We can do hard things. This is a hard thing. It's okay to admit that this sucks. This is terrible. It sucks. We can talk about how it sucks. This is a hard thing. But we can do hard things, and this is not forever. I promise them this is not forever. The world will open back up, and the skills that they have learned in terms of grit and perseverance, and in terms of the fact that their mother's a crazy prepper. When I was stocked up on everything in January, and I had one of my kids' friends was making fun of me, but she was also somebody. I always got at least 6 months of toilet paper, always. I'm a prepper. This was good for me.
Jamie, we are one and the same. I have a friend here and she keeps looking at my pantry and saying, this is insane. I have cans and cans and cans of food I told Vanessa, I'm stocked until 2050.
Yeah, I'm good. I have 2 freezers in my house, but was my friend's friend who thought my son's friend's mom who thought I was crazy, then couldn't find chicken. You know who's got a freezer full of whole chicken? Pennsylvania Dutch girl. But it's, you know, with our kids, we all think it's not going to be our kids. And I think when we're going through something hard, I see my boys trying to put on a brave face for mommy. And I need them to know that this is hard. It's okay to say this is hard, and this isn't going to be forever.
And then with that, you know, then empower them. And so let's do this. So always, as you can, express the feelings, try to end it with an action that's empowering. You know, it could be something still, you know, hugging and, oh, I love you, that kind of thing, but always kind of leave it on that. And this is how we deal with this, how we deal with this, and how we are dealing with this. So just keep the empowerment part of it. At any time when you're dealing with tough feelings, just, you know, leave it on a note of empowerment, on action, love and love.
I just want to say, because we are way over time, but this was so very much needed. I just want to thank you, Dr. Colleen and Grant, so much for taking time out of your schedule away from your families to spend time with the people who have watched on and off, and for those that will be watching, because replay is popular. Most people watch during replay. So I just want to thank you both for taking time out of your schedule, pouring out your gift, to not only help us, but to help everybody that's going to watch this. And you both, Dr. Grant already knows, she coming back. Dr. Hawthorne, you as well, you're always welcome to come back. If you even think that there's something going on, to say, hey, Kim, can you talk to them? Because this might be a good topic. I'll be happy to jump in and talk about it. Whatever it is, it could be COVID, it could be the new strain. We've talked about that too. But whatever in the field of medicine that you feel is a good topic that you would be welcome to come back and discuss with us, that would be great. Because what we try to do here is to have open conversations, like we're talking amongst ourselves, but while we're talking to ourselves, we're talking to everyone. So that's what we try to provide here. So we just want to thank you for taking part in this tonight with us.
You're most welcome. I'd be happy to come back. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before we leave, real quick, is there a resource that you guys would recommend that we put in the chat for anybody that is having difficulty?
I have an entire list from Grant that I can add then, that she sent me from Boston.
Please go ahead and drop it in the chat. I already told people to check with their employers, because they might have an EAP program, employee assistance program. So that's always a good place to start. Any other information that you have, Dr. Hawthorne, if you want to drop it in there, or give it to Kim, and same thing between Dr. Grant and Jamie, go ahead and drop it. Vanessa, you might know some from your recruiting stuff. Please go ahead, in your consulting business, please go ahead, drop that information in the chat so that we can get that out to people as well. And I'm going to post this video on YouTube too. So I'll go in and take that information and put it there as well, because we got to help people. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll put all my resources in there as well.
Awesome.
I wanted to wish you lovely ladies also a happy Galentine's Day too.
Thank you. Thank you.
I already treated myself with a little bit of chocolate.
Well, and I'm celebrating Mardi Gras too. So I had cake even though I'm not supposed to. So thank you. If anybody at Gambino's in New Orleans is watching, it's delicious. And I got the baby Jesus.
And happy Valentine's Day to all our viewers. Thank you so much. Ladies, I want you to hang out for 1 second, but everybody else, thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week, and stay safe out there, okay?
Thanks, doctors.
Oh.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.